Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Brief. Today, we're very, very fortunate to have Dean Veurink with us. Dean, welcome.
Hey, Chris. Nice to be here with you. Appreciate the opportunity to chat.
No, for sure. Dean is the VP of Marketing and Product Innovation at Torani, a fantastic company. Dean, why don't you get us started by telling us a bit about your background, and then we'll do a deep dive into the work you're doing currently.
Yeah, I'd love to. Kind of my career in business probably started in college. I went to undergrad at SMU in Dallas and studied marketing and organizational behavior and business policy there. And then found my way to the University of Kentucky and did an MBA with a marketing focus there. And loved all that learning. And then my next step was kind of started my 25 years in some form of food and beverage marketing. And I started in Chicago at a company called Griffith Foods. They primarily do custom seasoning, coatings, marinade blends for a lot of food service and retail customers. And it's a great place to get started. When I started, I really wanted to. I had an interest in market research, and I started there as really in a consumer insights role. And what was really interesting is I enjoyed working with the sales team and meeting with key customers and kind of bringing insight solutions and helping them think about their business. And I kind of found that I liked being a little more customer facing. And so I transitioned into a customer marketing role there and really loved it. And great learnings. They're amazing kind of family owned company. And I learned a lot about how to strategically engage and partner with key customers to drive unique business solutions. And from that, I was able to move on to Campbell Soup and worked there in their away from home business, kind of their food service business, and did a couple roles there. Started leading their kind of national accounts marketing, working with food service chain customers like Subway and KFC, kind of managing product from Campbell's that went there, and then transitioned into more of a broader brand management role. And had great learning there. I think it's a great company to learn kind of a great foundation for kind of classic brand management and marketing leadership. So I spent 5 years there, and then landed out in the West Coast in the Bay Area to work for another family-owned company called Basic American Foods, and kind of they're known as really the kind of the most prominent, probably dehydration kind of company, like instant potatoes, beans. They had refrigerated soup at the time I joined them, and it was really interesting tenure there. I was brought on initially to work on their food service business, and spent a brief time doing that. And what ended up happening is the company really needed to think about innovation and strategic growth. And I transitioned into a role of innovation marketing and really spent a bulk of my time there working on new product platforms and kind of brand and innovation strategy, which was great learning. Got a great kind of exposure to doing kind of some high level consumer segmentation and how do you turn that into you know identifying white spaces for product innovation and brand innovation. So amazing learnings there. And then I was very fortunate to have a kind of a I guess a food industry colleague reach out to me one day and say, "Hey, this company Torani in the Bay Area has an opening for a food service marketing director, and I think you'd be good for that." I'm like, I honestly didn't know it was a Bay Area company. I thought it was Italian, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll check that out." And I didn't really know a whole lot about it. And I was, 10 years ago, I just finished my 10-year anniversary at Torani, and met with Melanie Delbecco, the CEO, and Ty Doon, who's now the president. Was just blown away by the vision they had for where they wanted to take the company and the possibility of the brand. So I spent the last 10 years at Torani, the first 8 leading the food service marketing team, and fortunate enough over the last 2 years to have an elevated role. My boss, Ty, who was a chief marketing activist, uh, transitioned into president of the company, so I backfilled into leading all of marketing and have recently taken on also product innovation. So uh, really fortunate and blessed to be at a great company with just amazing growth. We've had just a strong history of growth. It's 20% CAGR over 30 years, which is just been amazing. In my time at Torani, we've grown 6 times, of what we started, so it's just been an amazing wild ride. So, I don't know if I could take total credit for that, maybe I haven't derailed it, which has been great, but it's been an amazing ride.
Well, I love it. It's a clear proof that marketing works when done
Yeah.
right. So, congrats on that. That's a and it wasn't probably as easy a story for you at Campbell. I mean, Campbell's had lots of ups and downs and sideways as many categories in the food industry and CPG generally, but food in particular, either because carbs are bad. I worked on Barilla pasta at one point, and at the peak of carbs equal bad, and I have friends that worked on the egg board, when eggs were bad. Now they're apparently good if you can afford
Yeah.
them. Well done. You spent your career across food and beverage, whether Campbell, Basic, American Foods, or now Torani. Um, what through line kind of connects the roles that you've taken?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've always tried to find roles that kind of expand my capability. And I've had a lot of food service background, and I've expanded to try to learn more about retail and e-commerce. And I think doing some innovation marketing was really supportive of kind of expanding my kind of repertoire, but beyond just traditional brand management or B2B marketing. So I think the common thread is probably always been kind of it's a good question. Really trying to develop product solutions that meet kind of unmet consumer needs. In all these roles, we've kind of had that, which has been interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting how when you look back at the history of food, how much marketing has played a role, and even well, I mean, true in every category, but in food in particular, I one of the examples I pick on is Altoids, which is not really food, obviously, but it's in the consumables space and sold through retail and on site. The you know, who would have thought that this kind of not particularly great tasting, doesn't really improve your breath too much, but it had such a great pack. I mean, that was such a strong brand for a period of time, entirely on the back of marketing and packaging. Tell us a little. I mean, are there examples that along your journey where you found that insight that you helped? Because I mean, I love the fact that at Basic America, you looked at segmentation and innovation combined. Are there examples that you'd care to share around where you found a white space, or maybe not even purely white, but an opportunity to have it be a plus one in a meal experience?
Yeah. Yeah, I think at Basic American, we had it interesting. We might have been a little ahead of our time, but our segmentation really led us to the need for healthier at home meals for the consumer that may not have a lot of time or skill to prepare that. And really, the kind of the insight hook was like, can we deliver more protein? And everything's pretty good at Expo West.
Right.
This year, and it was everything protein. And probably 7 years ago, we might have been a little ahead of our time, but we focused on creating protein pasta, and could we make it into a meal kit under a brand we called Modern Table that would be something mom could come home in a busy day. He's got 20 minutes to get something on the table and could feel good about a quick prepared meal that she could provide to the family without having a lot of skill or time. And it was really hooked on that. Like, it was looking at our capability, what we could do. We could dry and extrude stuff, and we felt there was a need for protein. So what if we made a protein pasta? And I think where the company has gone uh, is is they realize, like, for Basic America is more of an industrial manufacturing type company, that maybe branding that and taking that direct to consumer wasn't their strength. But what they've become is a manufacturer of that, and co-man and selling it to other companies to bring that product to market. So the insight was there. There was definitely an unmet need there, and it might have been a little early for it, but I think it's kind of found its way into the marketplace now.
So you were effectively seeding the market. You were an early spark on a journey that around protein that we're now knee deep in, if
It
not.
was out there a little bit, and but it wasn't taking off, and now it's
Right.
kind of really taking off, and who knows if that will stay, but it's everywhere right now.
Right, right. So, in doing segmentation and doing insights that you use for innovation, what are some of your ways of like finding the white spaces, finding those insights? What are some of the kind of proven ways because you can't ask somebody like, what would you like next? I mean, they'll tell you stuff, but a lot of times that's like irrational or not feasible. So, how do you find those opportunities?
Yeah, I think, what I've been taught, and what we've always kinda in kind of variety seeking categories like food and definitely, custom flavored beverage, what we do here at Torani, it's really about understanding that consumer need. Like, what are the throughout their daily occasions, what are the range of needs they have? And then really finding what is a target consumer that we can learn from. Like, we may not just sell that consumer, but is there a motivational segment of consumer that can tell us more about their daily night life within that need? And it's kind of mining that to figure out, like, how can we position across that need with coaching from that target consumer that hopefully we sell to more, but really kind of aligning on a unique need state. And a lot of it, I think, what we've done and both here at Torani and in my past companies is it's a lot of qualitative, it's a lot of listening to consumers. And it's and iterating, listening and iterating and, not showing them a product. It's more like, "Hey, what if something did this for you, and what are you really looking for?" And it's just getting them talking and really kind of picking out kind of what are the challenges in their lives? What are they really looking for, and how might we be able to help? Because to your point, they can't tell us exactly what it is, and it's kinda you gotta infer based on listening.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked on the, Chrysler business, and we launched the minivan in the Middle East, and, uh, the, curious marketplace in that the women in certain markets couldn't even drive, but they were absolutely a decision maker. So how do you reach through the men to the like, uh, fascinating, and we literally made a masculine briefcase that the man could take home to the family that inside had a more feminine, multi-dimensional, video-based, experience that they could visit the dealership and ride and drive without actually doing it. But I'm sure in the space you're in now, you have to find your way into those experimentations. And there's a an app out there that you can literally take a picture or open the app and take a picture of your refrigerator, and it'll give you ideas of what to make based on what you've got in there. I love that because talk about problem solving. But
Yeah.
I also guarantee that it will suggest things that you wouldn't have otherwise done. I mean, have you done things like that as part of your innovation? I mean, I know that's a very discrete example, but what other ways are you getting people to experiment?
Yeah, I mean, we've done some recently where we're experimenting some new kind of custom flavored beverage platforms is literally try to recreate a home kitchen and a research facility and provide the consumer with a myriad of potential ingredients and just let them go, give them one point of inspiration and see what they do, and kind of watching like what they will make, what kind of custom beverage. And hey, do they take cold brew? Are they going to make a milkshake? Are they making a refresher, a flavored energy, or a tea? It's like what the range of possibilities they have. What will they do, and what will they do with our, product protocept or with our
Yeah.
existing product? It's kind of giving them freedom and just watching.
Yeah. So that our listeners can be grounded in the full spectrum of what you guys do. Talk us through what's the product range and motion, and then what are my sense is you have kind of three distinct marketplaces. Um,
Yeah.
you've got, partners in on-premise retail and then end users. Is that kind of the breakdown?
Yeah, I think that's a good breakdown. I mean, at Tarani, we're all about flavor, and it's about really flavors that you can create to customize a beverage. We don't do a finished beverage. We're kind of that partner in creating that beverage experience. So we have flavored syrups, which is what we were originally known for. We got started in 1925 in San Francisco's North Beach neighborhood. It was a family that went back to their roots in Italy and came back with 5 recipes for Italian syrups, and so that's been our basis for 100 years. We created the beverage sauce, really for cafes, and so sauces are big for us. We also sell some smoothie mixes in our food service business, but our real focus is on flavored syrups and sauces that are designed for beverage. And we have a kind of unique model. We sell these products in this same brand really across diverse kind of contiguous channels. So food service has been the core of our business and since really what we call the cafe era in the late 80s when the flavored latte was invented and took off. But we've expanded. The consumer is a big focus for us. So traditional retail and e-commerce have been big growth areas for us. So kind of our focus is strategically being with arm having our consumer being with arm's reach of flavor kind of every day, everywhere. So they see our brand at a drink shop like a Seven Brew. They see our brand at Walmart. They see our brand on Amazon. Like you can have us at home. You can get inspiration from the cafes and drink shops you go to, and it's kind of a contiguous cycle of if you're going to do custom flavored beverage and create that sweet treat for yourself, like Torani is a great option, whether away from home or at home. And that's kind of been a great part for our business because we're able to grow in multiple channels and do it really under one product set and one brand with some minor packaging, smaller bottles in some cases for consumers, but it's pretty much the same product.
Yeah, got it. Um, I'm curious, tell me a little bit about sauce versus syrup. What's the
Mhm.
functional difference? Because it
Yeah.
strikes me just when you say sauce, I don't think drink.
Yeah.
But help me understand how how the prosumer, the one that's really into that stuff, thinks about it, and how did that what did that I mean, obviously it emerged out of your syrups, and part of your innovation strategy. How long has it been around and how's that playing out today?
In the 90s, I mean, our initial innovation strategy was really like, what could we make for a coffee shop and
Yeah.
make it Toronto branded? And you know, the rise of the mocha and the caramel macchiato. What we did is we created sauces that were thicker in viscosity and texture that created more mouthfeel and really more flavor delivery to the drink than a traditional syrup, really for mochas and caramel macchiatos. And what we did is we brought those to retail, and they're our fastest growing products. Our biggest seller is you would think would be a syrup, but it's now caramel sauce. And consumers will use it as a topping, certainly to drizzle drinks or even put on ice cream, but its primary function and how we design it, how we test it is to make sure it complements a beverage really well. So it works with coffee, cold brew, hot lattes, can work in any beverage and adds really it's versus a syrup, it's more that kind of mouthfeel and kind of uh, a little more kind of, thicker texture and you can drizzle with it. And that's kind of the difference.
Yeah.
A lot of our, uh, drink shop and cafe partners will use both in a drink. They'll flavor with a syrup, they'll top with a sauce, and it kind of creates multiple kind of flavor textures and kind of cold and hot indulgence for consumers.
Yeah, I was pleased to hear you use the term mouthfeel because that is a absolutely crucial part of the sensory experience around food products and beverages. It and brands that don't think about that mouthfeel, or both at the start and middle and finish, you'll oftentimes miss the reality of the real experience from a consumer perspective. Um, do you all, from a packaging perspective, have you made portability and use occasion kind of flexibility part of your packaging strategy?
Yeah, and I think that's continuing to evolve, but certainly like when we launched, I think about 7 years ago, we in our with our retail package, our traditional bottles, a 750 ml bottle that, what a lot of food service operators, even people at home do is we have a pump that goes along with that and they get added it's a quarter ounce. Well, we realize is for consumers at home, like they're not gonna get the pump usually, and 750 is a large size. So we have a 375, it's half the size bottle, and we created a pour spout on that. What we saw is having that pour spout allowed it kind of elevated the product and gave consumers kind of ability to kind of, I'd say, temper the amount of product they're pouring in and have a little better experience. So we certainly continue to look at packaging and how we kind of help consumers distribute our product into their beverages. We last year we launched a product we call our liquid drink enhancer, which is in a small squeeze bottle. It's concentrated, meant for on the go, but it has a valve that allows you to squeeze a small amount, a large amount. You kind of control the flavor into your beverage, and whether you're doing it in your car or at home, like that kind of packaging is a way to think about how people are dispensing into the beverage.
Yeah. Um, One of the having worked in the spirits industry a lot in my past, advocacy and word of mouth is like one of the strongest growth mechanisms, particularly in bourbon. In your category, is it on premise? Is it the seven brews that are inviting people into new experiences? Is that one of the biggest catalysts, or do you find that your super users are almost creating social media on their own to propagate, innovation and use occasions that are different than people thought?
It's all of that, which has been great for us from a kind of brand building and kind of consumer engagement perspective. What we find is a lot of consumers learn about us and our food service partners. They may see us in a drink shop and say, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I see that Torani bottle that has a distinctive label." Then they see it at their local grocery store, or they see it on Amazon. So that visibility in food service is really important to us. It definitely creates discovery from a brand perspective. Social media has been really big for us too. It's micro influencers and just user generated content of people showing how they Torani at home is big for us. So it's a dual combination of that that's really helped us kind of bring more people into the category. At retail, we're a strong category leader with 80% share. So our focus is on how do we create more discovery and interaction with the product and bring more consumers into the fold. And whether we don't necessarily want to transition them from food service, we want them to keep visiting our food service partners. But, in the occasions they want to drink at home, like how can we add that into their usage?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, is there a name for super users and in their skill? What's the language of the space?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, our general audience that we're targeting, we kind of call young flavor seekers.
Okay.
And it's generally like what we're really targeting is a I'd say a younger millennial, Gen Z, and they're fairly adept and uh, I'd say experiential in flavor, and they seek flavor. And it's interesting in my 10 years at Torani, there's probably been a transition of how they're approaching beverage and flavor, and we've seen a big transition. Probably 10 years ago, when you think of our product, it was most probably consumed in hot beverage, probably flavored lattes or maybe a frappuccino as an entry point for a younger consumer into coffee. And it was really the need was around, I want coffee and energy, but I want it to taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but what we've seen probably over the last 6, 7 years has been more of this need state we call the sweet treat, where this consumer is really almost seeking emotional reward or a pick me up in their beverage, and it's often cold if there are food service partners and at home. It could be flavored cold brew, flavored energy drink, now dirty sodas. It's kind of that indulgent treat to myself that could either set the tone for the day or be a pick me up or just a reward for something I did good. And that young consumer is very exploratory of that, and they use social a lot to see what are the hottest new drinks. And kind of the great thing for Torani, what's really been beneficial for us is we don't have to create the trend, we can be there with it. And so, as a custom flavor that goes into the beverage, we're not ready to drink. So we don't have to be the dirty soda in a can. We don't have to be the flavored energy in a can. We can transition to that and our our kind of core users will often be the biggest indicators of what's trending, and also message that out to the broader population. So it kind of helps us, which is great.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Torani's a 100-year-old company. You stepped in about 10 years ago, and you just celebrated your anniversary there. What's changed for you in your role, and what from a mandate perspective since you've been there? And then let's be really specific about what's changed last year to this year, because I think the pace of change is just accelerating like never before.
Yeah, it for Torani as a whole, we've just had extreme hyper growth really over the last 5 years. So change is rapid, and for a lot of us, or my role specifically, was continue to elevate. And a big part of what I do now is work with a senior leadership team that kind of sets the vision for where we need to go and the strategies for how we get there. And we've got a super talented group of marketing directors and product innovation team members. So, my role is really to be super approachable for them, to make sure they understand where we're going, what their focus is, and what we need to achieve. And I'm there to coach and set them up for success. So, my role's got become more of a kind of strategic guide and facilitator of success versus, I think when I started, it was a little more like how do we execute and kind of get things going in the right direction, and we've kind of established that. Um, with rapid change for Torani as a whole, it's you know we've got to scale. Like the big thing for us is when you go through hyper growth and we're on our way to be $1 billion company, it's we got to work a little differently. Right? Like, we've always been really good at being super creative and scrappy, which is great. We don't wanna lose that as part of our culture, but we really have to focus on is where can we scale? Where can we be more efficient and have what maybe smarter processes for how we're working in marketing and innovation, and how can we really rely on partners more and to kinda create more bandwidth for ourselves, and because we gotta continue to do that as we grow.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense. So, last year to this year, from a marketing stack perspective and marketing mix perspective, what has changed, if anything?
Yeah, not a huge changes. I think one of the things we did last year is we like to do a lot of what we call test and learn. We have a very design thinking, kind of growth mindset approach to things. So last year for our 100th anniversary, we launched into doing some experiential marketing, and we started with what we called the Flavor Factory experience, which was a flagship pop up in San Francisco's North Beach neighborhood where we got started, and then we transitioned that into a mobile experience we called the Little Treat Truck, which we took to 4 cities over last year, really just to learn, like, is experiential something that should work for us? Our theory was that our young digitally native consumer is really in search of in real life experiences, and that our brand would play well to that, and our product part of what we wanna do is create play with our product and interaction with it, and so what we found is it was super successful, so we're kinda doubling down on experiential. What you'll see from us in 2026 is the, Torani Treat Truck will continue to hit multiple cities, hopefully come to your city across America, come check us out. So that's been a big thing for us. And then the other thing I think that's new for us or testing a little bit is more in our e-commerce on our Amazon, is getting a little more upper funnel in our advertising. What we want to continue to do is drive a lot more new to brand. We've been pretty good at executing kind of mid to lower funnel and really driving strong growth, but we know like Amazon's a great place for us to drive brand discovery. So we're testing and learning with some new kind of new activations on how to like go bigger, more upper funnel, and bring some new to brand. So those are some of the things we're doing that I think you'll see out from us in 2026.
I love that, and having a distinct brand experience that's on the road is really, I think, super smart, and And the beauty is it's even, it used to be that you didn't touch as many people as you really wanted, but now with social and the content kind of
Yeah.
stream, you're really having a live feed that then continues for some time given the
That
reuse of
was
it.
yeah, absolutely, Chris. That was the thing when we the experiential wasn't as much about how many people came to the event.
Yep.
It was about the shares and impressions we got from it, and it blew us away how well that worked and how much we got, and I think part of the success of that is we didn't wanna just do a sampling tour. We're
Mhm.
not rolling around just slinging drinks out of a van. We wanted to create an experience. We wanted to create something that, uh, consumers would wait 2 hours in line to come check out, and that was really we partnered with the agency Deep Local that did an amazing job of helping us engineer an experience, something we'd be proud to share with the consumer. So I think in doing experiential these days is like, how do you make it something that, a 25-year-old's willing to wait in line a couple hours for and excited to almost be an influencer and show their friends or visiting it. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. Well, and there's a natural tension in doing that because you don't want to draw business away from your food service partners,
Yeah.
right? But you want the brand to stand out, like so all those things you have to factor in. And the smart partners would understand that, by driving brand experiences that are positive, it'll come back to them over time and
Yeah,
having it.
I think part of what we're doing where there's kind of nice duality of what we do is we continue to educate consumers on custom flavored beverages, and
Yep.
they may not do it at home, right? They may go to a Dutch Bros or a Seven Brew or a Black Rock and say, "Hey, that's I'd like to go check that out. I'd love to get a flavored energy drink. I tried that at a Torani experience." So
Yeah.
there is a kind of a brand support to our food service partners that helps drive.
So I'm curious, one of the strategies for ingredient brands or brands like yours is having language that, in the spirits world, we call it bar call, right? What's your bar call? Do you have branded language that you see emerging and when it starts to happen, do you propagate it and support it when a bar call type, or consumption call is including your brand?
That's a good question. We're starting to play around a little bit with some co-branded experiences that are flavored by Torani, but really kind of how we show up is when somebody sees a drink being made at a drink shop or a cafe, they see our bottle, right?
Yeah.
And our branding is very important to that. It's almost we call it a billboard for the consumer. And the benefit of our product in a lot of these cafes is there might be 35 bottles of Torani behind a barista. That's such a great billboard and it kind of registers with the consumer. And what's really interesting is when I started 10 years ago and somebody asked me like where I worked, I'd really have to explain it and say, yeah, you go to a coffee shop, you get a flavored latte, we're the vanilla that goes into it. And people are like, oh yeah, that red, yellow, blue bottle. And the last couple years, it's been more of when you say where you work, you're like, "Oh, yeah, it's Ronnie. I know you guys. Like, I love your flavor." And I think kind of that billboard effect has been really important for us.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's certainly something we want to hold on to. I mean, part of our business model is to be branded across
Yeah.
all channels. Like, we're never going to do private label or be a contract manufacturer for anybody. It's just not what we do.
Yep.
And kind of having that brand presence wherever consumers seek flavor is important.
Yeah. That makes sense. Um, I'm curious if you, as part of your marketing program, have experiences and ways to connect and stay in touch with your consumers that are beyond the use occasion. Um, again, I mentioned I've worked in spirits a fair amount, and you can't drink all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It'd not be healthy. Uh, and true with car brands, lots of brands, you want to have that affiliation, that kind of brand, kind of signature connection. Do you have like wearables programs or tchotchkes or Croc? I can't remember what they're called, but the things that go in Crocs. I mean, are there things that expand that use, past the use occasion?
We're starting to kind of dabble in that a little bit with our 100-year. anniversary pop-up tour, we launched Torani merch for the first time and sold it kind of in micro sales, almost like it was available to look, feel, and touch at our pop-ups, and you could order online, and we only had it open for a select window. And so kind of testing the idea of merch and generally as all our Gen Zs at the office helped design it. Like they weren't letting me get involved in that of like what's cool that kids would want. And so we're gonna continue that program this year. We think kind of getting merch out there is kind of a fun way, and we're kinda start continue to play around, like, what is that kind of hook, and are there things that would be interesting for people to have with our brand on it?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest thing we're doing right now is seeing, can we be a little more of a lifestyle brand in that from that perspective?
Yeah. Is there a brand story that you invite people into knowing? And for your most avid customers, are they like well steeped in it? Because I know lots of brands have that relationship,
Yeah.
especially for, as well as 100 years is remarkable in
Yeah.
today's marketplace. I mean, is there a brand story that your best customers can at least relate to in some way? And therefore, I could totally see them having a shirt, having a tag, having, those brand support kind of elements as a part of their life and lifestyle.
I think we're in the process of really trying to articulate that better. I think we have
Yeah.
an amazing story of amazing stuff to say, not only about our product, but about how we operate as a company. That
Yeah.
we're a family owned, independent, fiercely independent company, woman owned, 100-year-old company. And the way we operate as a company is unique. We've never had a layoff in 100 years or a certified B Corp. And I think what we're working right now is to try to figure out how to, like, our best customers know that. They know that about us. They know the Torani touch. They know how we treat our people, and how important that is. But I think codifying that and figuring out how to creatively articulate that to a broader mass is what we're really working on right now. We've got a smart agency helping us kind of think through that and
Yeah.
doing a lot of thinking on it,
Yeah.
which is great. Like we're in a position where we've got strong growth, so we've got time to really think and set
Yeah.
ourselves up for the future. But yeah, I think I think what's unique about us is how we operate as a business and our kind of mantra or purpose, as we call it, flavor for all, opportunity for all. And the opportunity piece is really big. Our vision in 5, 10 years is we hope people think about us as an opportunity company. And what we mean by that is our stakeholders are more important than shareholders. Like the team
Yeah.
members here at Torani, creating growth and development for them is important. It's how we treat our people. It's how we work with our partners. We want to be involved in creating past the first jobs for consumers. So we're supporting that externally. So we're working a lot on trying to how to bring opportunity to life, and we think that'll be a big part of our story.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the notion of living a flavorful life is one, especially young folks, just, they're always looking for that fresh, distinct, something they can share with their peers kind of angle in. Super interesting. And I love that you're B Corp and women owned, and I'm familiar with your people first growth kind of mantra as an organization. I think that's really smart and makes a lot of sense. Um, Partners and partner development. Talk us a little bit about how you look at that part of the puzzle.
Yeah, I think partnerships from a consumer branding perspective are going to continue to be important for us. We think about like our product is a partner to trending beverages. So whether it be cold brew, like we partner, or even hot coffee, we partner with Pete's and a lot of our retail partners. We partnered with Happy Coffee in our pop-ups. We partnered with equipment manufacturers like Mr. Coffee and Keurig to show up like, hey, add Torani to your coffee. We're starting to do at Walmart and some of our other retailers as dirty soda grows. We're starting to partner with all the really kind of informally, but in end caps with all the ingredients that go into making a dirty soda at home. So whether it be Coke or Dr. Pepper or heavy cream, and Torani is here, and like you put these all together. So as a flavor partner to a finished beverage, like partnership is important to us. And so we continue to kind of explore those and where it makes sense.
Yeah, that I mean it drives consumption and happiness, right? And one plus one equaling three is always a good formula,
Yeah.
so I love that. I mean, no marketer has all the budget they would ideally like to be able
No.
to spread the good word. So that's another key part of partnerships, we'll call it, right? Yeah. Well, what a fascinating journey, and I love the work you're doing, and I appreciate all you've shared. As we kind of wrap up here, is there anything coming up that you want to make sure our listeners hear about the next, kind of thing or activity for Torani?
Yeah, I think what's exciting is, I mentioned this before, is our kind of pop-up tour, the Torani Treat Truck, which is kind of being re-envisioned a little bit in 2026 with some new experience, and it's gonna be hitting multiple cities across America. I think we're gonna start in the Bay Area, site to be kind of unveiled in April, and we're gonna hit Salt Lake City for those dirty soda fans, kind of the hub of that, and then we've got some other East Coast cities that we'll announce. So we're excited to get out there and engage with our consumers and help them learn more about our brand and our product and have a fun experience. So we're excited about that. That's coming out.
Dana, that's fascinating, and what fun that'll be! I can't wait to see it. I hope it comes to our town. Um, as we kind of turn back to you specifically, is there a little known fact about you you'd care to share?
Um, Yeah, I think what's interesting for me is I've worked for, and we talked a little bit about my kind of employment journey, but I've worked for three companies now that are kind of still independent, third generation family owned companies, and Griffiths Foods, Basic American Foods, and now Torani. And having experienced that plus a publicly traded company like Campbell Soup, I think what I've really found like a great fit for me is a place that is independent, maybe a little smaller, maybe a little scrappier, that's focused on family business that stays independent and keeps growing. And I found culturally it's a great place for me, and it's not for everybody. It's kind of how you're wired and what's in it. But I find it's really fascinating that companies can survive over 80 plus years or 100 years like Tarani and stay independent. And you often hear about the third generation is when a family company typically either sells or has a lot of challenge. And it's great to see, the past places I've worked still thriving and Tarani doing amazing and with no kind of vision for slowing down. Our mantra is grow, baby, grow. We're gonna keep doing it. So it's super exciting, and it just creates more opportunity for our team and our partners.
That's a really a great insight, and I mean, and it also speaks to where you feel like you fit really well, right?
Mhm.
Is in organizations that share your ethos and belief system, and
Yeah.
and are driven to grow, not just rest on your laurels, because that there's a lot of organizations that suffer from that,
Yeah.
right? And to be a billion-dollar company that's a B Corp, I love that as well. I mean, just really a standout. And the big CPG brands, they don't even, if they don't have $1 billion in sales in that category or brand collection, they don't even stick with it, right? They
Yeah.
they either grow it to that and keep it or shed it. And what you've been able to do and to maintain that independence and to be a part of three now and three that continue to deliver value in really important ways. I love that. That's a great insight. Thanks for sharing that. Well, Dean, thank you again for being with us on the Beyond the Brief. You've brought a unique flavor to our conversation today. I knew you would. I appreciate you and the time you spent with us. We'll have to get you back at some point in the future and do an update. Again, thank you so much for being with us on Beyond the Brief.
Thanks, Chris. It's a pleasure. Happy to come back in the future.
Awesome. All right. With that, we'll wrap up another episode and stay tuned because there's always more Beyond the Brief.